Come to the next one. Target market. Once you have segmented the market, you get into the target market strategies, which are undifferentiated markets, which is very difficult to differentiate. Differentiated markets, focus, and the customized marketing. Differentiated markets are markets where there is a slight differentiation in the consumer profile. For instance, the southern markets would be different from the northern markets. Focus. Once you have selected a particular market, you try and focus your resource into that particular market. Customized marketing is you try and produce a product for a particular segment of the society or the customers. Like for instance, a company like Remens will be only looking at customized marketing for the men and not for the women. Are you clear? Next slide. We come to the product strategy, which is basically a product is anything that can be offered to a market to satisfy a need or a want. Products are marketed include physical goods, services, experience, events, persons, places, properties, information, and ideas. Anything that can satisfy a need or a want in a consumer to a consumer is a product. A product could be a physical product, it could be food, it could be a vehicle, it could be a telecommunication system, it could be a facility. It could also be services. For instance, the service of an aircraft being used to transport yourself from one place to the other. When you sit in an aircraft and travel from Delhi to Mumbai, you don't buy that aircraft. You don't buy that seat also. You buy a particular seat for a use of that aircraft for a particular destination, for a particular period of time. And that's what you call a service. When you go to a hotel, of course, the physical product that you get there is the food. But the ambience, the way that you are served the food by, you don't go, they are all what you call services. Experiences are basically experiences which are sold by companies because of their core competencies. Events, persons. An actor is a product in itself. He is the one who delivers. The role in the film is basically a product. A credit card is a product. That plastic card is just not is a product because it is this product that entails you to get certain credit in the market. There are information and ideas. Technologies, ideas are all products which are defined in the product category. You talk about in planning it, the marketers need to think about 5 levels of the product. They are the core benefits are the basic products, the expected product, the augmented product, and the potential product. I think so. You can have a screenshot of this, please, because this is an important slide which needs a proper screenshot. The core benefit is the basic product benefit a product provides. When you're buying a car, what's the core benefit the product provides? The benefit is transportation. It transports you from one place to the other, and that's the core benefit. Just 4 wheels, a seat, a steering, and an engine makes a car. You don't require too many frills. That will suffice the job of transportation. The core benefit your mobile phone provides is communication. So the second one is the basic product. The basic product, the core benefit converted to a basic product basically means that transportation is the core benefit a car is provided, and the basic product is a car which just runs. It doesn't have an AC, it doesn't have a stereo, it just has a wiper, it has an engine, it has doors, it has lights. You just put in fuel and the car will run. The way these ambassadors and Fiats were a couple of years back. They were the basic products. Expected products are a set of attributes and conditions buyers normally expect when they when they purchase a product. I mean, when you buy a product, you have certain expectations and attributes which you think would be correct. When you're buying a car, you expect that it will run, it will have a battery, it will start instantly when you want it to start. The lights are supposed to run, and these are the expected product. It is expected to have 4 tires. It has expected to, a car company cannot sell you a car with 3 tires. It's also expected that it has a stepney in it. So an expected product are the basic attributes and conditions buyers normally expect when they buy a product. And why it is important in marketing to know that is, a marketing company has to at least provide the basics if they have to sell a product, or to ensure that the basic expectations of a consumer is definitely being met by them in providing a product or a service. When you go to a 5-star hotel, you expect that there will be certain courtesies being provided to you. The air conditioning will be running. It is not that the power is off and the AC is not running. You're not going to get into that 5-star hotel. Of course, you're prepared to pay a price for all that service. But there is an expectations in conformity to the offering that a company has to make, or a company makes for that particular product. That's the expected product. The augmented product exceeds customers' expectations. Putting an AC into a car is an augmented product. Putting a stereo into a car is an augment. It exceeds customers' expectations. I mean, they expect that the product should be good, it should run, and anything extra that you do for is a, and by and large companies would like to generally make an augmented product. I mean, to give them a seat covers which are very good. In a telecommunication facility, other than giving you the communication, the facilities to make a call or to receive a call, they give you the SMS facilities. They give you the 2G facilities. They give you the 3G facilities. They are what you call augmented products. Potential product is one which encompasses all the possible augmentations and transforms the product or offering may undergo. For instance, putting up a GPRS system into a vehicle, putting up these tubeless tires are all potential products. I'm sure a car can run with the normal tires and tubes, but then if most of it which encompasses all the possible augmentations and something which is unique for that product. And companies like BMW, Mercedes, companies like Samsung, companies like Sony Ericsson, Nokia also, and BlackBerry for that matter, they try and make products. Of course, they have in their range a complete segmentation. They make very high-end telephones and also very low-end telephones. But if you look at certain companies like Sony Ericsson, BlackBerry, they make products or they provide services for a particular class of people. So are you clear on this? That is yet to be discovered or discovered and just put into what you call the introductory state. I'm glad, Augustine, you have woken up and not nervous anymore. And please ask as many questions as you want. Okay. Now, is it clear on this? And do I move on to the next slide, please? Okay. Woken, good. I'm so glad that you have woken up now. Now, product classification. When you classify products, you classify them into durability and tangibility. You classify them into services and consumer goods. When we talk about durability, we talk about products which are durable and products which are non-durable. Now, the purpose of studying the product classification in marketing is basically to understand the shelf life of a product, the volumes which sell into a particular product, If you are making a television, it's a durable product. It's a durable goods. So by and large, you're not of course you will be producing them in numbers. You would be, but then they're not just similar to one the number of breads or ice creams and and the consumer and the toothpaste and soaps that are produced. Generally, non-durable goods are goods which are sold into large volumes. Of course, one you can argue that a soap is also non-durable. I mean, it's durable. I'm sorry, you can, but then you cannot keep it for maybe ages. There is a shelf life also, by that after which time it loses its efficacy. When you talk about services, you talk about services being provided like the service of an aircraft, service of a train, service of a hotel, services of transportation, etc., etc. Consumer goods. So these are service. Consumer goods are convenience goods, shopping goods, specialty goods, and unsought goods. Convenience goods are goods which you buy them like your FMCG every day. Shopping goods are like your clothes and all which you buy them once in a while. Specialty goods are jewelry, your vehicles. They are all specialty goods. Unsought goods are goods which you would not like to buy, but you got to buy them. Medicines are unsought goods. Doesn't mean there's no there's a huge big pharma market that exists in the world, but you would refrain from buying these goods, but you are forced to buy it because of the unsought. Like for Augustine, this class would be a little unsought, but then he has no option but to attend it. So I mean, basically, unsought goods are goods which are basically something which a person doesn't want, but he's forced to do it, and this is what it is. I hope this is clear to all of you, and yeah, and then we move on to the next one, please. Okay, good, Augustine. At least you've been honest enough to confess it. Okay, good. Now we come to the industrial goods. Industrial goods are B2B goods, materials and parts, capital items, and business services. When we talk about B2B goods, we talk about goods which are sold from one industry to the other industry for the purpose of use as a raw material. Okay, Augustine, I have no reasons to embarrass you. It's just that I'm taking it in the lightest side of it. Materials and parts are basically spare parts being used by an organization as a consumable. Capital items are basically plants and machineries, and business services are services of a transportation, services of maybe a courier service is a business service. There are services being provided, or for instance, if someone is running a canteen for food for a large organization, that's a business service. So these are, I hope this product classification is clear to all of you, because this is also another important aspect for the purpose of understanding. Okay, so brother, B2B goods are basically raw materials and I would say consumables, which basically a company, for instance a pharma company, they buy sugar to make their syrups. Now generally sugar is also a consumer good, but when a pharma company buys it to produce cough syrups, or probably to produce or to use it in the tablets as a syrup, it is what you call a B2B goods. So buying of plastic by a company making bottles is called a B2B goods. It's a raw material for them. So I hope this is clear, Subrata, for you. Good. Okay, car parts also, Gauri, if a company buys to assemble a car, is a B2B goods. But if you are buying the car parts in order to replace it, for instance, if you are replacing a small carburetor, or if you are replacing a tire, then then it's a consumer good. But if 4 tires are bought by a company like Suzuki, then it's a B2B goods. So the classification differs from what you call the consumer products, the same product at times is a B2B goods, and also uh, well, diesel engines are generally, you can only be classified as a B2B goods. I'm sure no one buys a diesel engine. So that's what it is. So I hope this is all clarified and clear, and we move on to the next slide. A product mix is a set of all products that and items that a particular seller offers for sale. It could be the width, it could be the length, it could be the depth, and it could be the consistencies. Now, when we talk about the width, now let me explain this with an example. The width could be a company like Livers. They have a toothpaste, they have a the toothbrushes, which is health and hygiene. Then they have the hair care, which could be shampoos. Then they have personal, which could be soap. So these are the width. The different product offerings at different categories is called a width. A length could be, I mean, in for a toothpaste they have two brands, say Close Up and Pepsodent. That's a length. For soaps they could have three or four brands, Lifebuoy, Lux, Dove. That's a length. Depth is the SKUs. SKUs basically mean that the size. They have a 100 ml shampoo, they have a 2 gram sachet of a shampoo, they have a 300 ml bottle. So these are the depth. And consistency is at all the width, length and depth, the consistencies which a company maintains in order to sell a product. You see, there is a difference between a product mix and a marketing mix. So don't get confused between all these. Try and concentrate on, like, a product mix is basically a part of a product profile, and a marketing mix is basically a product is also a part of a marketing mix. So there are two different mixes, and you don't have to mix up into all this. So try and be clear about it. Okay, good. We come to the brands. Now, have you not been able to understand? Gauri, do I have to explain it again? Okay, now all of you try and concentrate on this. I am again trying to explain this. A width, I'm explaining this with an example so that you understand it better. The width is basically a company like Livers produces a product for oral care, which is the toothpaste. They have one for hygiene, which could be soap. They have something for the groceries, or they call it the food. It could be the flour or the atta, or it could be the vanaspati or the refined oils. So these are the width, the dalda. So basically, your width is the number of product profiles or product categories a company offers to the consumers. Length is between the width or the product profile, the number of brands. For instance, in soap they have a Dove, they have a Lux, and they have a Lifebuoy. This is the length. In depth is the SKUs. Basically, you have a 100 ml soap, or you have a 500 ml, for 10 gram soap, or a 20 gram soap, or a 200 gram soap. That's the depth. And consistency is a combination of the width, length and depth, and the consistency of supplies. So are you clear, Subrata and Gauri? Anyone else who has not been able to understand this? Okay, it's all clear now. Good. So then you have the brands. When we talk about a brand, we talk about the brand is nothing but a term, it's a name, it's a symbol or a sign. Now, when you just let me ask you a question. When you go to a petrol pump and want to fill up your scooter or a bike with petrol, what do you tell him? You put in petrol, and what else do you ask him to put in? Any one of you can just guess and tell me. You ask them to put in Mobil oil. Now, Mobil oil is, what is Mobil? Mobil is nothing but a brand. When you go to a photostat machine, what do you tell him? You tell him, give me a Xerox of these papers. Now, what is Xerox? Xerox is nothing but a brand. But these brands have become so popular that the basic product, like for instance, Surf is a detergent powder, but then people call Surf as they think Surf as is nothing but a brand. So brand, at times plays a very pivotal role in marketing. Building up brands, maintaining brands is a very, very important aspect of any marketer. They have to be very, very, most of the companies, fight to see that their brand loyalties are maintained. And what is a brand? Brand is nothing. It could be a sign. It could be a symbol. The way Coca-Cola is written, Coca-Cola is a brand. The way it is written is also a brand. It's the way one identifies a product with that of the competitors. And that's, in a nutshell, what a brand is all about. There is a subject on brand management, so I would not be taking too many slides on this, because brands is a subject in itself, and probably most of the companies and most of you who would probably attempt marketing, I'm sure should be looking at this subject in a very broad way. Now the meaning of brands are, there are attributes, there are benefits which a brand offers. Now what is the benefit which a Mercedes-Benz offers? I mean, after all, whether you travel in a Toyota Corolla or you travel in a Mercedes, I mean, both are cars which have equal, power. The benefit that uh, 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 Mercedes-Benz offers is the benefit of a status. It puts you into a different class of personality, and that's where the that's where the USP is all about. They say, I have a Benz and I have a BMW, so it spells class. So that's what it is. So I mean, just imagine, traveling in a Merc and traveling into a Nano. Of course, there's nothing wrong. Nano is also a car. It's also a brand itself. Maybe it sells more than what a Merc would be selling at times. But then they have different segmentations. So you have the attributes, you have the benefits, there are values to a brand in terms of not the brand value but the intangible values. Nirma today may be a cheap brand, but it has a lot of value, immense value into the marketplace as a brand. The brand has a culture, it has a personality, and it has a user class. So this is all that a brand has as a family. And now you can just read this, making ingredient brands work. When we talk about ingredient brands working, what are the requirements for success in ingredient branding? The consumers most perceivable that they must perceive that the ingredient matters to the performance and success of the end product. Consumers must be convinced that not all ingredient brands are the same and that the ingredient is superior. A distinctive symbol or logo must clearly signal to consumers that the host product contains the ingredient ideally. Basically, when you talk about ingredient branding working, it talks about the performance of the product and the push and pull strategies which an organization has in making a brand work. So this is, you can just read this out, I mean, it is a slide which has come from a strategic brand management book, which is by Kevin Lane, and you can probably, read this marketing memo, which at times is very interesting. Do I move further? Now we come to packaging. Now, to today's world, any product that has its personality comes out from packaging and labeling. Now, packaging is defined as those activities of designing and producing the container for a product. The container is called the package. It is a primary pack, it's a secondary pack, and it's a shipper's pack. A primary pack, for instance, if you look at a bottle of a cough syrup, the bottle is the primary pack. It is the one which contains the product. Secondary pack, that carton in which the bottle is inserted, is called a secondary pack. And shipper's pack is generally the wholesale pack or the transporter's pack. Packaging or well-designed packaging can create convenience and promotional values. They talk about self-service, they talk about consumer influence, they talk about company and brand image, and they talk about innovation and opportunity. Colors play a very important role in marketing. I mean, at times, certain colors have a lot of social influences. Saffron has got certain influence as a color into a certain set of society. Green has a certain influence into a certain set of societies. So colors, when you're designing a packaging, to put in the right colors, the ones which are compatible to the product that you are selling, all have. Just imagine a person wearing an orange trouser and a yellow shirt. I'm sure there's no match for it. I'm sure people, many of them would be laugh at people looking wearing such a. So it's after all the color. After all, the trouser is a trouser. So colors at times have a very important. If a company making trousers has to generally makes a grey trouser or a blue trouser or a brown trouser or maybe a black trouser. But I'm not saying that they don't make orange trousers or yellow trousers. But then they have a very niche market. Blue is cool and serene. Red is active and lively. I mean, red is supposed to be very active. Yellow is generally, used where for medicines. Could be used into a product where, the outcome, when you use a yellow color, generally, the outcome is very weak. The pastel colors are feminine and meant for the women, and dark colors are generally meant for the men. So any product that you design for a man or for men are generally expected that you use the dark colors in the packaging. And for women, if you are producing a product, then you should have pastel colors which are light. So are you clear on these colors, please? Labeling. Labeling is a simple tag attached to a product on an elaborately designed graphic. This is a part of a package. It identifies the product. I mean, you can say that that this product, you can only identify if I give you 5 bottles and don't label it, unless there's a Coke bottle or a Pepsi bottle which has its own brand personality and where you will be able to identify. But by and large, if I give you a bottle filled with a black colored liquid and don't label it, it could be a Coke bottle, it could be sealed, but then as a consumer you are reluctant to buy that bottle because it doesn't have a label. So label has its own use in marketing, and label is a simple tag attached to a product or an elaborately designed graphic. That is the part. It identifies the product, it identifies the brand, it grades the product, it promotes the product, and there are legal. How does it identify the brand? It identifies the brand because the brand is clearly written. It grades the product. You have Lux blue, you have Lux pink, you have Lux orange, you have Lux purple. So the different colors and the way the labeling is done, it identifies or it grades the product. It promotes the product. A beautiful packaging, a beautiful label has its own shelf appeal. Then legal compliances are also met on labeling. For instance, if you're buying a pharma product, if you're buying any product, the batch numbers, the MRPs, the expiry dates, the date of manufacturers, which are legal compliances. Or for instance, if you're buying a packet of cigarette, it's legally expected that you write that it's injurious to health. That can only be done on a label. You can't write it on a cigarette. So it is, the labeling has got a lot of implications in, and is a part of what you call a product policy for any company or organization. So is this clear to all of you? Good. Now product life cycles, as I mentioned to you, products have a very limited life. They have passed through distinct stages, each posing different challenges, opportunities and problems to sellers. The purpose of studying product life cycles are that at different level, if the product is at the introductory stage, if the product is at the growth stage, they all follow different challenges to marketers at different levels. And it is extremely important for a marketer to know at what level the product is. And that is why we study the product life cycles. You have at these cycles the introduction, the growth, the maturity and the decline. And this, I think so, we have discussed this a number of times, and it requires no explanation because I'm sure each one of you knows about it. Introduction is something where a product comes for the first time. Growth is when it gets into the market, people start adopting the product. Maturity is a stage of diffusion where the product is well accepted by the market and comes at a highly competitive stage. And decline is when the next product is on the introduction stage and this product has to go out of the market, which is what you call, like for instance, the pagers are out of the market. They have all declined. So you have the product life cycles. Are you clear? Pricing. Price the value paid by the consumer for the perceived value of the product or service. Now pricing is a new subject. It's the value paid by the consumers for the perceived value of the product. Now what's a perceived value? A perceived value is the way a consumer looks at when he buys that product. You have to immediately run to the hospital. You get hold of an auto or a taxi and he says, I will not go. I will charge you double. You know it's not the right price. But then for you, at that time, there is an emergency. Your wife is ill. She's expecting a baby and you have to rush her to a hospital. So for you, the perceived value is the value that you think you are paying for it. You're prepared to pay double. And that's, so any consumer, when he buys a product, when you go to a 5-star hotel, for a 15 rupees bottle of a mineral water, you pay 100 rupees or 150 rupees, paying 10 times the price of that bottle. For you, it's a perceived value. You think that's a fair price to pay because of the service that hotel provides you. You're not buying the bottle, you're buying the service in that hotel. So a price is basically, and why do you have to talk about this perceived value? Any one of you can just explain this to me, please. As I mentioned, let there be a interactive session. Prashanta Bose, Ajay Chetri and Deepak. I find that you guys have not been, are you still logged on or what? Are you there? I don't think so. Any of you is responding. So Pranav is there. I'm talking about Arun Chetri, Prashanta Bose and Somesh Dayal. I hope you can. Okay. Tanjeet is there. Kiran Chandra Pant is there. No, I'm not asking because I know these. um, Perceived would be something that consumer deems important. Perceived is, the worth he feels for that product, and that is what you call perceived value. Okay. So you understand, perceived is like, for instance, if you are buying a soap, if I go and say the soap is 500 rupees, I mean, that's not the perceived value. You would say, why it doesn't cost so much. Soap could be 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees. So that's the perceived value. A perception, a person has in his mind. Of course, a mineral water bottles cost 15 rupees, but you don't have a perceived value. You'll be served at 15 rupees in a five-star hotel. You know there would be a value which could be even 10 times more. So that's the perceived value. Go to a five-star hotel, get a dish for 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees. But why nowadays this definition may not hold true, Kiran? Can you explain it to me by sending me a quick chat on that? I mean, I'm glad that you're differing, but can I have a reason for that, please? I mean, just post it while we are going around with the class, because if you have made a statement, you got to, I mean, talk about it. So pricing. Now, importance of pricing is a revenue generator. Due to high demand versus production. Well, you see, I have my doubts that in India, while we have a high demand, but the production is equally high. Other than fertilizers and other than a few things which generally are sold in a queue, most of the products here are sold or produced on the basis of a demand. So the perception of a price. I mean, in India we are a highly competitive country, and I mean so is the world now today. So of course exceptions will definitely be there. Like for instance, a product like urea. I mean, there's a fertilizer where the demand is high and the production is low. There are certain products. Power could be one aspect which I agree with you, but not all of them. Okay. Now we come to importance of pricing. Importance of pricing would be pricing could be is a revenue generator for the organization. Positioning of the product in the marketplace. It determines buyers' choices, determines bottom lines and value to customers. Now, what's a bottom line? What do you mean by a top line and a bottom line? The sales of any organization are referred to as the top line. The profits of any organization are referred to as bottom line. Now, if you can increase the price more and more, so the profits also increase, and then it determines bottom lines. That's what the purpose is. It gives value to a customer, or what you call the perceived value. Yeah, Tanjeet, you can ask out of the topic also. I have no issues, but make it quick and fast, and it should not be too much of tangent. Out of topics, what's the success rate of passing students in previous batches? Well, I mean, this is something, Tanjeet, I have no knowledge about it. I mean, this is something which I am sure the administration can answer your question, but I would have no clue about how many are passing and how many are failing. But I am sure each of you, if you do well, would be passing out. So, I mean, let's not get into all this, This is a marketing management class, so it's not a class where we are collecting statistics on the institution. So, importance of pricing, revenue generator, positioning of the product determines, and these are basically, so pricing, has a very important aspect in the one of the 4 P's. Factors influencing pricing are the product line pricing. Product line pricing basically means so Subrata, let's not I mean get into this debate of about who's passing and who's not passing. So let's keep this. Let's not unnecessarily waste time of the entire class on this. So let's not encourage such questions and a debate on all this. Factors influencing pricing decisions are product line pricing, explainability, competition, negotiating margin, distribution, channel effects, political factors, profits and price positioning. When we talk about product line pricing, we talk about the pricing of that product line. For instance, Coke and Pepsi, you cannot have Coke selling for 10 rupees and Pepsi selling for 15 rupees. There could be a marginal difference which normally doesn't happen. A soap selling, of course, depending on your brand perceptions, you can have different pricing models. But then you can't have a 500 rupees soap and a 10 rupees soap. There is, I mean, I'm sure there would be certain exceptions. But by and large, a product line pricing is as per the product that is sold in the industry. Expressibility is basically the way a price change influences the sales into a product. Competition is how a competition reacts to a price change. Negotiating margins are generally, this is there in B2B businesses. The margins which a company has to do with the distribution channel effects are the effects of the distribution or the channel partners, political factors, profits and price positioning. Pricing policy, selecting the pricing objectives, determining demand, estimating cost, analyzing competitors' cost and price offer, selecting a pricing method and selecting the final price. A pricing policy would mean the selecting the objectives. What objectives you have? You have to determine demand and then work out your pricing. You have to estimate your costs first. I mean, today if you are competing with a Chinese company, then if you are selling in the international market, you got to know your costs. Analyzing competitors' cost, price and offer. Selecting a pricing method and selecting the final price. You got to select the pricing method, what you want, cost closed or demand pull, and select the final price. The 3 C's model for price setting are the high price. Okay, I'll just let me finish this pricing and then I'll give you a break for 5 minutes. Okay, and then we'll try and take it immediately, but don't make it more than 5 minutes, please. And high price, ceiling price, customer's assessment of product features. I mean, the maximum a consumer can pay for a price. And low price is basically for products which are a telephone connection instrument, like the cost of a call today. They cannot be very high. They have to be very, very low per unit price when we are talking about it. Types of pricing are competitive pricing, geographical. Competitive pricing are as per competition. Geographical pricing is as per the geography. Like for instance, you have a one price for North, you have one price for Bengal, you have the other price for Punjab, you have the third price for Gujarat, and the fourth price for Maharashtra. So you have, these are the geographical pricing. Promotional pricing is something, when you're introducing a product or when you want to increase your market share, you at times reduce certain pricing for a particular period of time. That's what you call promotional price. Discriminatory pricing is generally used in B2B, like for instance, for a customer X, you are charging price 1, and for the customer Y, you're charging a different price. That's what you call a discriminatory price. Product mix pricing is basically, what's a product mix? There's a marketing mix and a product mix. A product mix is basically, for a 10-gram pack, there's a different price. For a 100-gram pack, there's a different price. Byproduct pricing is, and psychological is, if there are byproducts coming in. Psychological pricing is basically pricing for the, for instance, a 99 rupees 99 paisa is a psychological price. The fact that there's a shirt is 200 rupees, but you price it at 1000 rupees and say that there's an 80% discount. So that's a psychological price. Actual cost of the shirt is only 200 rupees, but you priced it psychologically high. So that's, and given that discount, so that's a psychological pricing. So responding to prices changes are by initiating price curve. It's psychological. I mean, the way you pronounce it. Yeah, the Bata is, yeah, County and all, they all have psychological pricing. Initiating price cuts, initiating price increase. I mean, either you can increase the price or you can decrease, or you have to look at proactive price cut means that you find that the competition may change the price. So before he changes it, you try and cut your price. These are what you call proactive price cuts. Price discounts are cash discounts, volume discounts. Cash discounts are based on cash. Volume discounts are for a particular volume that you buy. Target discounts are generally in B2B for set on certain targets that you seasonal discounts and allowance.